Chapter 10. Heathcliff visits Catherine for the last time. 1784. Heathcliff had given me a letter for Catherine, but I decided not to show it to her until Mr. Edgar was out of the house. My chance came 4 days after my visit to Wuthering Heights. As it was a Sunday, Mr. Edgar and all the servants went to church, leaving me alone to look after Catherine. She was sitting downstairs by an open window, enjoying the spring sunshine. Her appearance had changed since her illness, but there was a strange beauty in her pale face. She did not read or sew any more, but used to sit there silently, staring into the distance. Her eyes seemed fixed on something far away, something beyond normal sight. I showed her the letter, but she looked confused and could not seem to understand it, so I had to explain. "It's from Mr. Heathcliff," I said gently. "He's in the garden and wants to see you. What shall I tell him?" She said nothing, but bent forward in a chair to listen. We both heard someone coming through the hall. Heathcliff had realised the house was almost empty and had found an open door. Catherine looked eagerly towards the entrance to the room. He appeared, and in 2 steps was by her side. For 5 whole minutes he held her in his arms and kissed her again and again. It gave him great pain to look at her face. He could see, as I could, that she would never recover, that she was certain to die. "Oh, Catherine! Oh, my life! How can I bear it?" he cried. "You and Edgar have broken my heart," said Catherine. "And you both want me to pity you. How strong you are, Heathcliff. You live for years after my death. Will you forget me and be happy with others when I'm in my grave?" "It's wicked of you to say that, Catherine. You know your words will burn forever in my memory after you've left me. You know I could never forget you." "I don't want you to suffer more than I do, Heathcliff. I only want us to be together, always." Heathcliff turned away, his shoulders shaking. "That isn't my Heathcliff," Catherine said to me. "I'll always love my Heathcliff and take him with me. He's in my soul, you see. Oh, Ellen, I do want to escape from this prison. There's a beautiful world waiting for me out there. You feel sorry for me now because I'm ill. Well, very soon I'll feel sorry for you because I'll be beyond you all." Heathcliff turned towards her, his fierce eyes wet. For a moment they looked at each other, and then they were in each other's arms again. No one could have separated them. "How cruel you've been to me, Catherine!" he cried wildly. "You loved me, so why did you marry Edgar Linton? It's all your fault. I haven't broken your heart. You've broken it, and you've broken mine too. Do you think I want to live after you are dead?" I've done wrong. I'm dying for it," sobbed Catherine. "It's your fault too, Heathcliff. You left me, remember? forgive you. Now forgive me." "It's hard to forgive when I look at your sad eyes and feel your thin hands. Kiss me again, Catherine. I forgive you for making me suffer. But how can I forgive you for dying?" Catherine sobbed quietly, hiding her face in his shoulder, and tears rolled down Heathcliff's dark face. Suddenly, I noticed through the window the servants coming back from church. I was afraid Mr. Edgar would find Heathcliff with Catherine. "My master will be here in a moment," I warned them. "I must go, Catherine," said Heathcliff. "No, no!" she screamed. "Don't go! It's the last time! Edgar won't hurt us! Heathcliff, I'll die if you go!" "All right, my darling, I'll stay. If he shot me in your arms, I'd die happy." At that moment, my master appeared at the door. When he saw Heathcliff holding his wife, he went pale with anger. "Here, take care of her first," said Heathcliff, putting Catherine in her husband's arms. "Then speak to me later if you wish." He walked out of the house. Catherine seemed to be unconscious, and Mr. Edgar was so worried about her that he forgot about Heathcliff for the moment. She recovered a little, but did not recognise any of us, and was clearly very ill. We put her to bed immediately, and at 12 o'clock that night, her daughter, Cathy, was born, 2 months early. That's the young lady you saw at Wuthering Heights, Mr. Lockwood. 2 hours later, Catherine died, without calling for Heathcliff or recognising Edgar. My poor master was in the depths of despair. I thought it was very unfortunate that Catherine had only given him a daughter, not a son. Now the Linton fortune would pass to Isabella and her husband after Mr. Edgar's death. Catherine's dead body lay peacefully on her bed. In death, she looked more beautiful than in life. I wondered if she was now beyond us all, as she had said, and hoped that her soul had found a home with God. In the morning, I went to look for Heathcliff. I found him in the Grange garden, where he had been waiting for news all night. "She's dead, I know," he called to me as I came closer. "Don't cry. She doesn't need your tears. Tell me, how did—" He tried to say a name, but could not manage it. "How did she die?" he said at last, staring fiercely at me. "Don't be sorry for me. I don't want your pity." Poor creature, I thought. You have a heart just like other men, but you are too proud to show it. Aloud, I said, "She died quietly in her sleep. Her life finished in a gentle dream. I hope she wakes as calmly in the other world." "Where are you, Catherine?" he cried in despair. "Don't leave me here, where I can't find you. I pray that you will never rest while I'm alive. You said I killed you. Haunt me then! Murdered people do haunt their murderers, I believe. Come back as a ghost. Drive me mad. I don't care. Oh, God, I can't bear it. I cannot live without you, my soul." He howled like a wild animal and hit his forehead several times against a tree until the wood was covered in blood. I knew I could no longer help him, so I left him. Catherine was buried the following Friday. Her brother Hindley, although invited, did not come, and Isabella was not invited, so it was only Mr. Edgar and the servants who attended the ceremony. To our surprise, she was not buried in the church with the Lintons, nor with the Earnshaws. She lies in an open corner of the churchyard, where she can breathe the air from the moors. Her husband's grave is next to hers. Chapter 11. Isabella Escapes, 1784. That Friday evening, the wind changed and brought first rain, then snow. Next morning, the spring flowers were all hidden under deep snow. Mr. Edgar stayed in his room. I was in the sitting room with the baby, when I was surprised to hear a girl's voice behind me. I turned round and saw it was Isabella Heathcliff. I was quite shocked by her appearance. Her hair was loose and wet with snow and rain. She wore a light silk dress and thin shoes, which did not seem at all suitable for a long walk in the snow. Under her ear was a deep wound which was bleeding. Her face was scratched and bruised, and she looked very tired. I could see that she was expecting a baby. "I've run all the way here from Wuthering Heights," she said, gasping for breath. "I couldn't count how many times I've fallen down. Ellen, please ask a maid to find some dry clothes for me, and then I'll go on to the village. I'm not staying here." "First, my dear young lady," I told her, "you'll get warm and dry, and I'll put a bandage on that wound. Then we'll have some tea." She was so exhausted that she let me help her without protesting, and finally we sat down together near the fire with our cups of tea. "Oh, Ellen," she said, "I cried bitterly when I heard of Catherine's death, you know, and Heathcliff is desperately sad, but I can't feel sorry for him. This is the last thing of his I've got." And she took off a gold wedding ring and threw it in the fire. "I'll never go back to him, but I can't stay here in case he comes to find me. And anyway, I don't want to beg for Edgar's help or make trouble for him. To escape from Heathcliff, I must go a long way away. How could Catherine have liked him, Ellen? I wish he would die, and then I could forget him completely." "Don't say that," I protested. "He's a human being. There are worse men than him in the world." "He isn't human," she replied. "I gave him my heart and he destroyed it, so I can't feel pity for him. But I must tell you how I managed to escape. Hindley Earnshaw should have been at Catherine's burial yesterday, but he had been drinking so much that he couldn't go. Last night, he and I were sitting silently in the kitchen at about midnight when Heathcliff came home. Hindley decided to lock the doors so that Heathcliff could not get in. He told me his plan was to murder his hated guest that night, with the weapon he had shown me. I hate Heathcliff too, but I could not agree to murder, so I called out a warning from the kitchen window. Heathcliff swore horribly at me and broke one of the windows. Hindley put his right arm out through the hole with a gun in it and aimed it at his enemy. But before he could fire, Heathcliff caught hold of the gun and pulled it away from Hindley. The knife cut into Hindley's wrist and blood poured out. Heathcliff jumped into the kitchen through the window and started kicking and hitting Hindley, who was lying unconscious on the kitchen floor. I ran off to find Joseph. When we came back, Heathcliff was putting a bandage on Hindley's wrist. Joseph was shocked at the sight of his master and would have gone to the police if Heathcliff hadn't forced me to describe what happened. I had to agree that Hindley had certainly attacked Heathcliff first. The next day, I decided to have my revenge on Heathcliff by telling Hindley that devil had hit and kicked him when he was unconscious. And I told Heathcliff to his face that he could never have made Catherine happy if she had been his wife. This made him so angry that he threw a knife at me, which cut my neck, and then he rushed towards me, swearing violently. I knew I had to get away quickly, and as I ran out of the kitchen, I saw Hindley attack Heathcliff. Both of them were rolling on the floor, fighting. I came over the moors, through the snow to the Grange. At last I'm free, and I shall never spend another night at Wuthering Heights. After drinking her tea, Isabella left the Grange. From our village, she travelled by coach to the south, where she made her new home near London. There, a few months later, she had a son. She called him Linton. Heathcliff must have discovered this from the servants. One day, when I saw him in the village, he said, "I hear I've got a son, Ellen, whose name's Linton. I suppose Isabella wants me to hate him. She can keep him for the moment. But tell Edgar Linton I'll have the boy one day. He's mine." After Catherine's death, my poor master, Mr. Edgar, was a changed man. He no longer went to church or saw any friends. He occasionally went for lonely walks on the moors and regularly visited his wife's grave. But fortunately, Catherine had left him something of herself, her daughter Cathy. This tiny child soon won his heart. It's strange, Mr. Lockwood, to compare Hindley and Edgar. They both lost their wives and were left with a child. Hindley did not believe in God and showed no interest in his son Hareton. But Edgar believed and loved his daughter Cathy deeply. Hindley himself died 6 months after his sister Catherine. We never discovered exactly what happened, but Heathcliff said he had drunk himself to death. It appeared that Heathcliff had won Hindley's house, land and money from him when playing cards, so he was now the master of Wuthering Heights. Hareton inherited nothing from his father and could only stay on at Wuthering Heights as a servant, working for the man who had been his father's enemy. Chapter 12. Bringing Up Cathy, 1797. During the next 12 years, I was happier than I had ever been before. All my time was spent looking after little Cathy, who brought sunshine into our lives. She was a real beauty, with the Earnshaw's dark eyes and the Lintons' fair skin. She wasn't as proud and quick-tempered as her mother, but she was used to getting what she wanted. Her father loved her so much that he gave her everything and never scolded her. Until she was 13, she had never been outside the Grange garden alone. She knew nothing of Wuthering Heights or Heathcliff. She often asked me about the hills in the distance, beyond the moors, and wanted to ride a pony there. I knew the master would not let her leave the safety of the Grange to go so far, especially as the road to the hills passed close to Wuthering Heights. So I always told her she would be able to go there when she was older. I did not know what she was planning. Mr. Edgar received a letter from his sister Isabella. She wrote that she was dying of a fever and asked him to visit her for the first and last time. She also wanted him to take care of her son, Linton, after her death. Although my master hated travelling, he did not hesitate to do as she requested. He told me to look after Cathy carefully and left at once. He was away for 3 weeks. Cathy did not cause me any trouble at first. She spent her days walking her dogs and riding her pony in the large garden. But one day she asked if she could stay out the whole day. And away she went on her little pony with her 2 dogs running behind. There was no sign of her at tea time, and I began to be seriously worried. I went outside to look for her. At the gate, I found a workman who had seen her jump the low wall separating the garden from the road and then ride on towards the hills and Wuthering Heights. I was very frightened now. She could be lost on the moors. She could have tried to climb the hills and fallen. I walked across the moors as fast as I could and arrived breathless at Wuthering Heights. How glad I was to see one of her dogs lying outside the kitchen door. I knocked loudly, and Zillah let me in. I knew she had been the housekeeper there since Hindley's death. "Ah," she said, "you've come for your little mistress. She's here, quite safe. The master, Mr. Heathcliff, isn't here. He won't be back for a while." Cathy was sitting comfortably in the kitchen, talking eagerly to Hareton. He was now a big, strong young man of 18, who was staring rather stupidly at her. I was delighted to find her again, but I pretended to be angry to punish her. "Well, miss, you are wicked, going such a long way all alone. I've been all over the moors looking for you. Your father will be angry." "What have I done?" she sobbed, suddenly frightened. "Father didn't forbid me to leave the Grange garden. He won't scold me, Ellen. He's never cross like you. And I've been to the hills, Ellen. This man showed me because I didn't know the way." I made her put on her hat and prepare to leave. "Whose house is this?" she asked suddenly. "It's your father's, isn't it?" she added, turning to Hareton. "No," he replied, looking down. His face went very red. "Whose then? Your master's?" she asked. He swore and turned away. "Ellen, he didn't say miss to me. Servants should always say miss, shouldn't they?" Hareton frowned and looked very angry, but said nothing. "You get my horse," she ordered him. "Hurry!" "What the devil do you mean? I'm not your servant," he growled. "You see, Miss Cathy, nice words to be used to a young lady. Now, come along. Let's fetch the pony and leave," I said. "But Ellen," she cried, staring horrified at him. "How dare he speak to me like that? He must do as I tell him." "He's not your servant, miss," said Zilla, who'd been listening to the conversation. "He's your cousin." "He can't be my cousin," cried Cathy, with a scornful laugh. "Father has gone to fetch my cousin from London. He's a gentleman's son, not a farm worker like him." She pointed at poor Hareton, whose clothes were old and dirty. I was very annoyed with her and Zilla. Now Heathcliff would hear about his son's arrival, which we had hoped to keep secret from him. And Cathy would certainly ask her father whether she had a cousin at Wuthering Heights. On our way home, I explained to her that if her father discovered she'd visited Wuthering Heights, he would perhaps be so angry with me that he would send me away. She could not bear to think of that, so she promised to keep her visit a secret from him. We heard from Mr. Edgar that his sister had died and that he was returning soon with his young nephew. Cathy was wild with excitement. She would see her dear father again and have a cousin of the same age to play with. But when the coach arrived, young Linton had to be carried into the house. He was a pale, thin boy who looked very like Mr. Edgar. He seemed so weak that I wondered how long he would live. I thought he would have no chance of life if his father, Heathcliff, took him to live at Wuthering Heights. In fact, Linton only stayed one night with us. Later that evening, Heathcliff's servant Joseph arrived and asked to speak to the master. Although it was late and Mr. Edgar was tired after his journey, Joseph insisted, so I took him to the master's room. "Heathcliff has sent me for his son, and I can't go back without him," he said. Mr. Edgar was silent for a moment. On his face was an expression of deep sadness. He had hoped to keep Linton with him, as Isabella had wished, but he could not refuse the boy's father. "Tell Mr. Heathcliff," he said calmly, "that Ellen will take his son to Wuthering Heights tomorrow. He is asleep at the moment, and I won't disturb him." "No!" said Joseph, banging the table with his hand. "I must take him back now." "Not tonight," answered Mr. Edgar. "Leave the house now and tell your master what I said." "Very well," shouted Joseph as he walked out. "If he doesn't arrive early in the morning, Heathcliff will come for him." Chapter 13. Heathcliff's son at Wuthering Heights, 1797. Linton was very surprised to be woken so early and told that he had another journey to make before breakfast. As we rode the 4 miles to Wuthering Heights, he kept asking me questions about his new home and the father he had never seen. When we arrived, Heathcliff, Hareton and Joseph all came out of the house to inspect the child. "Master, that's not a boy," said Joseph after a while. "Look at that white skin and fair hair. Mr. Edgar's sent you his daughter instead." "God, what a beautiful creature," laughed Heathcliff scornfully. "That's worse than I expected." I helped the trembling child off the horse and into the house. Heathcliff took him roughly by the arm. "I hope you'll be kind to him, Mr. Heathcliff," I said. "He's weak and ill, and he's all the family you've got." "Don't worry, Ellen," replied Heathcliff with a smile. "As Isabella's son, he'll inherit Thrushcross Grange one day, and I don't want him to die before that. He'll be educated as a gentleman. But I'm bitterly disappointed at having such a weak, crying baby for a son." So poor Linton was left in his father's care. At first, Cathy was miserable, because she would not now have anyone to play with, but she soon forgot him. Whenever I met Zilla, the housekeeper in the village, I used to ask her about Linton. "He's often ill," she told me, "and so selfish. He has to have a fire even in summer. He calls for cakes and hot drinks all the time. He only ever thinks of himself. Mr. Heathcliff can't bear being in the same room as him." Several years passed without any more news of Linton. In 1800, Cathy reached the age of 16. We never celebrated her birthday because it was also the day her mother died. On this particular day, she came downstairs dressed for going out and suggested a walk on the moors with me. Her father gave permission. It was a lovely spring morning, and I was very happy walking in the sunshine, watching Cathy running ahead of me. But we had walked further than I had realised, and I called to her to come back. She did not seem to hear me. We were on the moors, close to Wuthering Heights, when I caught sight of two men talking to her. I recognised Heathcliff and Hareton at once. I hurried to catch up with her. "Miss Cathy," I said breathlessly, "we must go home. Your father will be getting worried." "No, he won't, Ellen. This gentleman wants me to go to his house and meet his son. He says we've already met, but I don't remember. Do you? Let's go, Ellen." Although I protested, she and Hareton were already halfway to Wuthering Heights. Heathcliff and I followed behind. "It's very bad of you, Mr. Heathcliff," I scolded him. "Mr. Edgar will blame me for letting her go to your house." "I want her to see Linton, Ellen," he replied. "Listen to my plan. It's really a very generous one. I want the two cousins to fall in love and marry. You know, Cathy won't inherit anything from her father. My son Linton will inherit all the Linton fortune when Edgar dies. If she marries Linton, she'll be wealthy. Of course, if Linton dies, then the money comes to me as his only other relation." I was still angry with Heathcliff, but it was too late to stop Cathy entering Wuthering Heights. She was delighted to rediscover her cousin Linton, who was keeping warm by the fire. "If he is my cousin and you are his father," she said to Heathcliff, smiling, "then you must be my uncle. Why don't you ever visit us at the Grange?" "I visited it once or twice too often before you were born," he said. "I must tell you that I quarrelled violently with your father once. He hates me, and if you tell him you want to come here, he'll forbid it." "Well, if I can't come here, Linton can come to visit me at the Grange," suggested Cathy happily. "It'll be too far for me," said her cousin weakly. "It would kill me to walk 4 miles. Heathcliff looked scornfully at his son. "I don't think my plan will ever succeed, Ellen," he whispered to me. "Who would fall in love with a selfish baby like that?" He went to the kitchen door and called, "Hareton, come and take Miss Cathy round the farm." Cathy was eager to see the animals, and she and Hareton went out. As we watched them through the kitchen window, Heathcliff seemed to be thinking aloud. I've taken my revenge on his father by making Hareton work for me. I treat him badly, as they used to do to me, and he suffers, as I used to. He's intelligent and strong and handsome, but I've taught him to scorn those qualities. So now he's just an uneducated farm worker and knows nothing of the world. That's how he'll always be. And my son, he's stupid and weak and ill, but he's a gentleman, and he'll marry Cathy, and he'll be rich. Meanwhile, Linton had got up from his armchair and gone out to join Cathy and Hareton. Through the open window, I could hear the two younger ones laughing at Hareton's coarse way of speaking. I began to dislike Linton rather than pity him. When we arrived back at the Grange, Cathy told her father about the visit. He did not want to frighten her, and in my opinion, did not explain clearly enough why she should never communicate with Linton again. At the time, she seemed to accept her father's wish. During the next few weeks, however, I noticed Cathy's behaviour change. She was always writing on little pieces of paper, which she kept in a locked drawer in her room. And every morning she got up surprisingly early to go down to the kitchen. I suspected something, and one day I decided to break open a drawer. In it, I was horrified to find a whole pile of love letters from Linton. The two cousins had been writing to each other in secret for several weeks, and Cathy had used the milkman as a messenger. I told her at once that I knew her secret, and made her promise not to send or receive any more letters. We burnt Linton's letters together. Chapter 14. Secret Visits. 1800. The months passed, and soon it was autumn. Mr. Edgar caught a bad cold, which seemed to get worse and worse. He stayed indoors the whole winter, so Cathy only had me as a companion on her walks. She had become very quiet and sad since her relationship with Linton had ended, and was very worried about her father's illness. One day, when we were walking in the Grange garden, I noticed her crying. "Cathy, what's the matter, love?" I asked. "Oh, Ellen," she sobbed. "What shall I do if Father dies? And if you die? I'll be left alone." "I hope he and I have years more of life ahead of us. All you need do is look after your father and let him see you cheerful. But I think he would be really ill if he thought you loved Linton, whose father would like to see Mr. Edgar dead." "I'll never do anything to worry or annoy Father," she promised. "I only want him to recover. I love him more than anyone else in the world, more than myself." Just then we reached the gate, and I saw a gentleman on a horse looking over it. It was Heathcliff. "Miss Linton," he called, "there's something I must tell you." "I won't listen," answered Cathy. "Father and Ellen both say you're a wicked man." "But this is about my son Linton," Not me. What a trick you played on him. You wrote him all those love letters, and then I suppose you got tired of it and stopped. Well, you've broken poor Linton's heart. I swear he's dying of love for you, and he'll be in the grave by next summer unless you help him. Be generous. Come and visit him. I'll be away all next week, so your father won't be angry if you come. He rode away. Although I tried to persuade Cathy that Heathcliff could not be telling the truth, my young mistress was very upset and determined to discover how Linton was. The next morning, we rode to Wuthering Heights. We found Linton alone, lying on a sofa. He looked feverish and ill, and had a bad cough. "Will you shut the door?" he said crossly as we entered. "It's so cold. No, Cathy, I can't breathe if you kiss me. I want a drink." Cathy poured him a glass of water. "And are you glad to see me, Linton?" she asked hopefully. "Yes, I am," he replied. "But you should have come before. My father swore at me and said it was my fault you didn't come. Will you come and visit me again?" "Yes, Linton," Cathy said gently, holding his hand. "If father agreed, I'd spend half my time with you. I wish you were my brother. Then we could spend all our time together. But my father says you would love me best if you were my wife, so that would be better." "I'd never love anybody more than father," she replied seriously. "Sometimes men hate their wives, like your father. He hated your mother, my Aunt Isabella. That's why she left him." "That's not true!" cried the boy. "Anyway, your mother hated your father, and she loved mine." "You're lying! I hate you!" she shouted angrily, and gave the sofa a violent push. He fell back and started coughing so badly that even I was frightened. At last he recovered. Cathy was crying in a corner, afraid that she had really hurt him. "How do you feel now, Linton?" she asked after a while. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you." "I wish you felt as ill as I do, you cruel thing. And I was better today before you came." His voice was full of pity for himself. "We must go," I said. "You can see, Miss Cathy, that he isn't dying of love for you. It's not your fault that he's ill. Come along." But I could not stop Cathy whispering something in Linton's ear before we left the room. On the way home, I told her I would not allow her to visit him again. "He's a selfish child, Miss Cathy, and I don't think he'll live till he's 20. I'm glad you're not going to marry him." Cathy looked sad. "I'm sure he'd recover if I looked after him, and I don't think we'd quarrel if we knew each other better." "Well, miss, if you try to go there again, with or without me, I'll tell your father." But the next day, I fell ill and had to stay in bed for 3 weeks, which was very unusual for me. My little mistress went from her father's bedroom to mine and back again, and looked after us both with the greatest care. But I never wondered what she did in the evenings, when Mr. Edgar had gone to bed, and I no longer needed her. I only discovered the truth on the first day I was able to get up. In the evening, I asked her to read to me and was surprised how sleepy she seemed. She went to bed early. I felt rather worried about her health and went to her room an hour later to see if she needed anything. Her bedroom was empty. I sat there in the dark, waiting for her to return. When she arrived, shaking the snow off her shoes, she was shocked to find me there. I guessed where she had been, but I made her tell me the whole story. Every night since I had been ill, she had ridden to Wuthering Heights and spent the evening with her cousin. Sometimes she was happy with Linton when he was cheerful and less selfish, but most of the time she was miserable. However, she insisted that the visit should continue because Linton needed her and she wanted to see him. Although she begged me to say nothing to her father, I went straight to the master and told him. He forbade her to visit Wuthering Heights again. She had to obey her father, although it made her very sad. Well, Mr. Lockwood, all this happened only about a year ago. I never thought I would be telling a stranger this story. But who knows how long you'll be a stranger? You're too young to live alone for long, and no one could see Cathy and not love her. Anyway, I'll continue my story.